For credibility purposes, this is my rating on chess.com, this is my peak rating on chess.com, and this is my FIDE rating. Now let's get started with your roadmap. Your roadmap to 1500 in 45 days will involve improving these three things: your application of the opening principles, your calculation ability, and your general knowledge. The complete details of this roadmap will be attached as a PDF in the description, so feel free to download that. I will delve into all these three techniques now. To play the opening correctly, you need to follow these three principles. You need to develop your pieces, you need to control the center, and you need to prioritize king safety. Now that we have the rules, let's consider the first example. White starts with e4, black starts with e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. Good development. This is how you should play. You're controlling the center, you're developing the pieces. This is fine. But bishop c5, knight c3 develops, no problems. And f5, this is the move I have problem with. You're going too quickly for an attack, and your opponent is more developed. So that means your attack is unlikely to succeed. Now, here what should white do? Quite a few options. Firstly, I can ruin your castling by playing bishop takes g8, or I could just castle as white did and keep developing, keep following the principles. d6, d3, and now we see the key problem. Once you have played f5, which leaves your king weakened. So f5, even though it controls the center, it leaves your king weakened, which is a bigger problem. And after knight e7, there is knight g5, and black is actually lost in this game. So you see, if you could just follow the opening principles properly, your game can improve so quickly. Like if black knew the opening principles and knew that he had to follow that, there would not be any problems for him whatsoever. But now knight g5, he's just lost. He plays d5 to stop knight f7, and we have pawn takes, knight b4, d6, knight d5, and eventually, white is now up a piece and he's just completely winning the game. Knight f7 and black just resigned. He just castled into knight d8. So this is our first example. Now I'd like to give an example of what a decent opening might look like. So let's say white starts with e4, black plays e5, knight f3, knight c6. So white develops the knight, black develops the knight. Both control the center. This is good. Now suppose we play a move like d4, which is opening up the center, and yeah, it's capturing it. ed knight d. We are still following the principles. Now let's say black plays bishop c5, developing. I play bishop e3, developing. Black plays queen f6, developing. I play c3, developing, controlling the center as well and defending the knight. Knight e7, bishop c4, I develop. He castles, I castles. This is a sort of opening which you should be playing. You are now harmoniously developed, you have castled, your knight is going to develop, his bishop will develop, and we'll have a solid chess game. This is what we want from the opening. A decent game by following all the principles. So this is a good example of how an opening should be conducted. I now want to talk a little bit about calculation. You are losing a lot of games because you are making blunders. And why you are making blunders? You are missing elementary tactics. Solving this problem will improve your rating very quickly. To solve this problem, you have to solve a lot of puzzles so that the patterns become ingrained in your head. Once you have that, you will be an unstoppable force. Now, this game is a great example of why you should know your elementary tactics. So white starts with d4, we have d5, c4, dc4, queen's gambit accepted. Knight c3, developing the knight. He's not interested in taking the pawn, but he's capturing the center and he's developing a piece, which is good. e5. Questionable move. White plays d5, e4, and now black just plays bishop b4, and this is a blunder. Try to find out why. You should see this instantly, and if you are not seeing this instantly, then that means you need to practice more tactics. The move is, of course, queen a4. The check comes in and the bishop just falls because it's an unprotected piece. So you should not keep your pieces unprotected, at least if they can be taken away like this. Queen a4 checks, c6, queen b4, and then white is just completely winning. So this is one example where just knowing your elementary tactics can save you from quick losses. Black could have played any move, like black could have played, for example, bishop somewhere, bishop c5. Perfectly fine move. Develops the piece, keeps an eye on the king, controls the center. This is what you want. Since white had not done his tactics, white actually managed to lose this game. He played bishop a3, which actually gives black an opportunity to save his king with knight c6. Believe it or not, black's king is now safe. Black is not getting checkmated anymore. Really surprising, but well, he even blunders the bishop. Now bishop takes e3 is straightforward a win for black. But black goes to save his king, and since white did not strike his opportunity, black just hides king a7. Knight c7, queen d8, the knight falls after rook e8. Queen has to move rook f2, the pawn falls. King e1, rook f8 back, okay, that's fine. But notice what the position was, and now black's king is just safe. So just because you didn't capitalize on your tactical opportunities, this is what's going to happen. Rook e8, queen f7, queen a5, and eventually black managed to win the game. I've demonstrated the point. If you don't capture your tactical opportunities immediately, they'll go away. So that's why you need to solve tactics every single day. Now consider this example. Black's king is completely destroyed. It's on a5. Imagine Magnus was playing this position. Is there a chance in the world that Magnus would not win this position as white? There is absolutely no way that white doesn't win here. Look at this king on a5. It does not have any defense whatsoever. And if white had practiced his tactics, he would have found the win almost instantly. Try to pause the video and find the win. It's literally just playing b4. King has to take, there is no other way. And you just give rook b1 check. Now you bring another piece into the attack. Okay, fine, king moves back. And now, literally any move wins. You can't even go wrong, but something like king e2 threatening bishop d2 ends the game on the spot. Now, if you practice your tactics, this is like piece of cake, absolute piece of cake. And that's what I'm trying to emphasize. Solving 12 tactics every day will skyrocket your tactical ability. Trust me, I've done this. My brother has done this. This is the way to do it. Now, what do I mean by the third point, which is general knowledge? Well, think about it. You need to know your basic endgames, like basic pawn endgames, basic rook endgames, perhaps even basic queen endgames. Then you need to know your essential middle game ideas. For example, do you know your basic plans in Sicilian? If you play that, do you know your basic plans in Royal Pace? Do you know how to play isolated pawn positions? Do you know how to play hanging pawn positions? All these things can be learned from one source, which is classics. Classics are the games which are the most instructive ones in the pre-engine era. Now, where can you find those? I will be attaching ChessBase India's channel. They have a beautiful series on that where I saw quite a few classics myself. You'll have to check that out, but I'll cover one game nonetheless. Now we are looking at a game of the legendary player Paul Morphy, who was one of the players who could never become the world champion officially, but I think he was the unofficial world champion. Let's dive right into it. e4, e5, knight f3, d6, and d4 by Paul Morphy. As you can see, is following the principles. Bishop g4, d takes e5, bishop takes f3. So black has given up the bishop pair quite early on, and bishop pair in an open position will favor white in this case. Queen takes de, and Morphy develops with tempo. Tempo means you develop with attack. And here f7 is clearly attacked. Queen f7 is checkmate if black makes a bad move. So black plays knight f6. Morphy plays queen b3, attacking b7 and f7. Morphy spots tactics very quickly. He realizes there are two weaknesses, one on b7 and one on f7. So queen should go here right away. Queen e7, knight c3, developing c6. Now, why did Morphy not take straight away? Morphy did not want a position where queens would get traded. He did not want that. He wanted attack, activity above material. So he goes for knight c3. He wanted activity. c6. Now what does he do? He gains even more activity by playing bishop g5. He develops very, very quickly while his opponent is still stuck. This is what you want to do. You want to keep your opponent's pieces restricted and you want to develop yours very quickly. b5 by Duke. Now what happens here? You have not developed your pieces while you are making unnecessary pawn moves. This is violation of the opening principles. This cannot work. And since white is ahead in development, white can afford to play a brilliant sacrifice here. Can you spot it? Knight takes b5. cb5, bishop b5. And white is completely winning, believe it or not. All because black's pieces are inside. They're not playing. They're as good as non-existent. Knight d7. How do we bring more fire to the attack? Long castle. Look at these attacking ideas. Sacrificing for initiative. Rook d8. And well, how does Morphy bring more fire to the attack? Pause again, find the move. Rook d7. Another sacrifice. Look, the rook on h8 doesn't do anything at all, does it? So, rook d7. Rook d1. How do you stop rook d7 coming in? You can't take with the knight, the queen will hang. And if you take with the queen, your queen, of course, will hang. So, queen e6. The idea is that he expects Morphy to trade queens. Will Morphy do that? Absolutely not. Morphy just takes on d7. Knight d7, and he does a beautiful mate into. See if you can find it. The mate goes queen b8. Knight b8 and rook d8 is checkmate. So this is one of those essential classics that you absolutely have to know to increase your knowledge to find the most beautiful chess patterns in your games. This is what you need to do. Now, the rest of the classics you can find on ChessBase India's channel. I might be uploading some of them soon as well. So do check out that too. But these are the three things I have now clarified for you. Your detailed roadmap will be in the description, where I will have the whole schedule highlighted, which you should do in order to reach 1500 within 45 days. If you practice hard enough, it will be less than 45 days. So follow that. And if you don't get there, do let me know. I'll personally make sure that you do. Thank you.